Welcome back, coders, to another video. Today we're still covering the Xbox Series X, and what you just witnessed on the in the background of their screen is a raw startup from sleep on the Xbox Series X. It was about a second and a half long, and then my first opening of a game which was running in the background, which was Mass Effect 1. The focus of this video is going to be on quick resume and a couple cool things that it does, and a particularly interesting thing that it does to things running in the background. So I wanted to cover a little bit of detail on that. One of these things is kind of like a quirk of the system, and I think something that might be ironed out in future firmware updates. Is not necessarily a negative, but it's more of like, I want to see if it's something that they can make more robust. So you've already seen me switch from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 in under maybe 5-6 seconds. Then I went to Ori and the Blind Forest, which I forgot was not already running, but you could see it loaded in under 15 seconds. Now we're going to play around, realize it's the wrong Ori, but then I'm going to go and load up another game that is currently being housed in that quick resume mode, which is basically a save state of some kind, and it quickly is able to reload all that data. So I quickly remember that Star Wars Battlefront 2 is also in quick resume. You can see how quickly that just jumps you literally right in the middle of a mission, which is just so cool, because that's one of those games where I could pop in and play for 20-30 minutes and want to switch very quickly. Oh, Ori Will of the Wisps is already in quick resume, so we'll load that up. It will take about 5 to 6 seconds, and you can see right there, back in the action. Also, really loving this game. Just note that all of the capture that I've done so far has been in 30 FPS at 1080p. I can't capture in 4K. I could capture in 60, but I didn't. So next video, I'll try to make sure that we do that. We hopped back over to Mass Effect 2, middle of the cutscene. You can see it has just a quite slight delay, a little freeze, and then boom, right into the action. We're going to go back to the Ori and the Blind Forest, which was now in quick resume. As you can see, I think we're in 6 games concurrently that have save states on this system, and I've had 0 issues so far. There have been no weird glitches so far. It's early on, and there's a couple things that you're going to have to note. There are limitations to it. First of all, games have to support it. So far, most EA games have supported it. The only exception being that if a game is an online game, has to be connected to the internet in some way, it will obviously have to get it will have to take you back to the menu so it can reconnect to its servers. The challenge there is obviously that's not going to jump you right back into the action. A game where this is causing me annoyances that I wish was a little bit better. Gears 5, actually. Gears 5 is one of those games that likes to connect to the internet because it is a co-op shooter, right? And they really pushed it hard. I would really hope that they have a way to go into an offline mode, and maybe just signing out of my current profile would do that. I don't know. I'll have to play around with this a little bit, but it is one of the limitations. Halo's another one where it's going to bring you back to the main menu. However, it will quick resume. So just watch some of that. You just want to see that icon in the top right, quick resume. You'll know that it's going to be into that game in no time at all. And I have yet to hit my wall, like limit of games that I can have concurrently running. That could be a product of just not having enough space at this point, because I've installed like 28 games or something like that, 22 games, or just a limitation of the system. We'll have to find out where that runs into. But at this point, I can confidently say you can have 6 to 7 games concurrently running that can switch between them in under 10 seconds. I mean, and legitimately under 10 seconds. Obviously, higher profile games are going to take slightly longer, but not a whole lot. Like, not a whole lot, and it's really impressive. You can literally have all 3 Mass Effect games going concurrently and swap between them. So if you want to compare story points and gameplay points, man, like, recording with this is going to be such a game changer in so many ways, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. But here's the last little bit that I wanted to touch on. One thing that will happen, and this is not necessarily a quick resume feature, but if you have a bunch of games running and then you fire up a new game, what will happen on the Xbox is sometimes it will slow down the download. It will continue it in the background while you're playing, but it will slow down the download to about 20 megabits per second is my experience. And then when I go back in and quit out of that game, that one that is currently running, the one that is active in my background, it will bring it back up to a much faster networking speed. In fact, the Xbox Series X has been the fastest downloads I've ever experienced on a console, somewhere between 180 and 250 megabits per second on average. And it obviously ranges depending on what your network is doing, but it is maxing out my current network speed, which is fantastic, and I'm very happy with that, which means that me downloading a shit ton of games hasn't been a complete nightmare. But I'm going to tell you, if you're using Quick Resume and you want to keep that game that's currently active running, you're going to have slightly degraded download speeds because it's acting like that game is currently running. I wish there was a way for it to recognize that you've stopped after 5 or 10 minutes and say, okay, focus back on the download. As far as I know, it doesn't do that. So if you're having something you're trying to download that's very large, I would go ahead and recommend just go ahead and just close that game out, save and close that game out, and it will be fine. You can leave all of those other Quick Resume games running and it won't affect it, but the one that is actively being played will cause a slowdown on the download speed. So it's just something to note, something I found a little quirk, and that's my little tip for you guys. So hopefully you really enjoyed this quick look at Quick Resume. And as always, stay classy, coders.